So we have an roughly 1 hour, not 1 hour, till 1 o'clock. It's 12:10. 1 o'clock. This is supposed to be an interactive section. Now, so then evening we have another session. So this is an interactive part of the session. So you're free to ask questions. Only don't ask me political questions. Other things are fine. So what I suggest is that if anybody has a question, they put up their hands and you're given a microphone. I'll try to answer to the best of my capacity.
Thank you very much. I will adopt a Christian position that I don't believe in only one life, so I will ask 2 questions in case I don't get a chance.
Say that again?
So I will adopt a Christian position, only one life, so I get only one chance.
Christian position of one life, okay.
Not many chances. So only one chance, I'll ask 2 questions. One question is about the concept of grace.
Concept of
grace. Okay, so my question is grace given or is it earned? That is first question. And the second question is about one of the aspects of Bhakti path is about the name of Narayana Sri Ranganatha, who is the master of all Leelas, and also Mukunda, who also gives the Mukti. So is the existence of all our this what we see is a part of the Leela at all or not? So if you can say 2 things about this.
Okay, question number 1 is that what he said was, I'm taking the Christian position that there is only one life. Now, to me, it's that there are many lives is not a position but an experience. Okay, whether it's Christian or Muslim or Judaic, I don't know what the position, the theory is all about. But to me, it's a fact which I cannot prove to you that there are many lives. Okay, so it's a long process of development and evolution. Just as you have physical evolution, starting from the single cellular organism to this complex entity that we have, there is also a parallel spiritual evolution, which is of the mind or the soul or whatever you want to call it, which develops, progresses, and at one time reaches a point where it understands the secret of life. So for me, if you read my second book, which is called The Journey Continues, you will find there are many things. I can't prove it to you because there's no way you can put it in a test tube and give it to somebody. So that's one thing. However, I sometimes think it is better to believe in one life. Even though I know it's not so, for the simple reason, then people do things with urgency. During the days in olden times when the Chinese used to be completely under the influence of opium, they would lend money to somebody and they would say, after many lives we'll get it back. So what? One. Second, what happens when you believe in many lives, which may be a fact for me, but when you believe, I'm talking about beliefs, then in many cases you tend to postpone your spiritual, like you say, oh, this life I will enjoy, next life, forgetting that spiritual development is also enjoyment. Okay, so so there is this urgency. Like for instance, the Christian or the Muslim wants to finish everything in one life because they don't know if there are any other lives. They don't believe in it. So they try hard to find something. So that way, when you believe in many lives, that should not become an excuse for laziness. So it's a good concept to believe, but very often belief and facts are different things. When there is a fact, like the sun rises every morning, sun sets in the evening, something I see with my eyes, I don't have to say that I believe the sun rises and the sun sets because it's the truth for me. So the moment belief comes into the picture, which means I'm still not certain. So it's not a question of belief. Psychologically, it's a good idea to say, maybe I have only one life, let me work on this. Very good idea. However, don't completely dump the idea that there are other lives. There are many lives. Please keep this in mind. You'll see many tendencies that come to same two children born in the same household with different tendencies. Because one follows a certain line, the other follows another. So there are many possibilities. To your second question about grace, truly speaking, grace needs no reason. You can't manufacture grace. You can't ask grace to come. Well, you can pray for your satisfaction. But grace is something which is spontaneous. It's not something, it doesn't have any give and take. There is no business there. There is no reason. It's there. We believe, I personally feel, that grace is there all the time. It's not as if it's not there. Like you said, the Ranganatha plays in the Ranga, the drama of that grace is always going through the characters. It's not that it's not there. Symbolically I'm talking about. But the problem is, our windows are not open for the grace. There is grace even here, right now. Our windows are shut, they're not open. There's breeze blowing outside. Now also there's a breeze, gentle breeze outside. You don't feel the breeze because your windows are closed. And in this artificial world we live, we don't ever feel the breeze because we are air conditioned. All the windows are closed. But so the grace is blowing all the time like a gentle breeze. You need to keep your windows open. There you need some effort. Because when the breeze comes and when it goes, we cannot dictate. Not in our hands. But we can keep our windows open so that when it comes, it wafts in with the smell of jasmine. You get what I mean? So that's in our hands. We need to open our windows. After that, it's not in our hands to dictate when the breeze is coming and when it's not coming. We can't. We have no capacity to do that. Okay, having said that, I would also say from the spiritual point of view, that if somebody has touched the source of that grace, we won't call it grace or the happy, the bliss or or that which is not limited by our mind. If somebody has touched that, then there is a constant movement of that in that person going on. And if you just keep your hearts a little open, it's possible to get a little bit of that. Depending on your preparedness, how prepared you are, it may be more or less. But certainly it will have some effect. Little or more, that depends on various factors. So that's all I can tell you about this question.
You spoke about limitations, and then you spoke about limitations and identifying your limitations. But then after that, beyond that limitations, how do you know where you're meant to go and how do you know what your calling is?
Okay. Now when I said to identify when I said identify limitations, I didn't say identify limitations. I said that realize that we have some limitations. We don't have to, we know that we have limitations. Now, just think about this. The mind still seeks to be unlimited. Why? Because it wants more. It's not satisfied with one thing. The very effort it puts in to have more is actually an indirect attempt at trying to find the limitless, which never happens in the outside world. However much you possess, whatever you have, it's still not limitless. There is still a limitation. We are saying, yes, instead of searching for it outside, if you can turn in and look within, will probably find the limitless inside and not outside. And it is independent, non-dependent of any outward things. So the path therefore is to first figure this out. First to realize that whatever I gather from the outside world, it's not going to make me complete. So what do? Can I look within and figure out if there is a fountain of completeness inside me? Is this possible? This is the first step. And several teachers have taught this in different ways. Some people have taught through love. See, love, how is love? Yeah, I say, it's a very easy word to say, I love you. But it means nothing. Generally, it's a courtesy. It's just saying, oh, I love. So what does it mean? So when you say love, is there something that you can do, give without expecting anything in return? Not easy. Can you love somebody or something without any expectation? It's not possible. In the normal sense of the term, it's not possible. However, when it grows from the heart, when the mind is quiet and calm and tranquil, and there is a blissful feeling of compassion and love that comes from inside for no reason whatsoever, then you begin to understand in that love remains this completeness which we are seeking. Why do we seek love? Why? We all seek some love and affection from somebody. We feel very bad if we are neglected because of the essence. Our true essence is that love. We are hoping that it will come from outside, but it's there in us, inside us. So the first step on the spiritual path is to realize this, that there is nowhere outside, it is inside. And when you touch that, then automatically you can really say seriously, I love you. Because you are not expecting anything in return, you want to share this wonderful thing with others. And believe me, love is a word which has become quite misused, bandied about. It's okay, but it's a very important part of one's life, even in this spiritual world. Bhakti, you ask me, bhakti actually means love. Love not for any material possessions, but love for no reason whatsoever towards the Supreme. Spontaneous. Can I go a little longer on this because it's important? Because we all say I love you and so on. Yeah. See, because just as I explained in Satchidananda, Satchitananda, there's another word used by Vyasa, Veda Vyasa. When Veda Vyasa in his Brahma Sutras, very difficult to read, don't attempt, don't even try. So in the Brahma Sutras, can you imagine a script, a book that starts with Atato Brahma Jijnasa, let's begin the study of the Brahman. So it's tough. So but when he describes, it tries to define the undefinable, which is the Supreme. Instead of Satchidananda, Vyasa uses the word Asti Bhadi Priya. Asti Bhadi Priya. Now let me explain what. Asti means that which is, like Sat. Asti, existence. It exists, it is. As opposed to that which you think exists but really does not. Asti. Difficult for the mind to grasp. Okay. Bhati means it is of the form of consciousness, feeling, awareness, and light. Again, difficult to grasp. And the last is Priya, easy to grasp. Priya means that because of which we love. Somebody is Priya to us. Right? Priya means that which is to be loved. So Asti Bhadi Priya means, actually I think we should approach this Asti Bhadi Priya, the Supreme, first through Priya, because that is one you can understand easily, than to Asti and Bhati. These are very, what do you call it, abstract concepts. But Priya, you can understand. Everybody knows, even ordinary love. When two young people are in love, okay, they are ready to go and leave everything, all their wealth, and run away. What for? What are they sacrificing for? Even though that love is hormonal, we know that. Still, in a small way, it illustrates that supreme sacrifice by which you reach the real Priya. And without sacrifice, nothing can be done on this earth. So, even ordinary love, which we can all understand, that two people standing in the bus stop, in love, so-called, with each other, college students, looking at each other's eyes, what's happening? I mean, you can say that there is a hormone surge, but what's happening between them? You ask them what's happening, they will say, we don't know. Kuch hota hai. But what is this kuch? What's happening actually? So this emotion called love, even in its ordinary terms, when a girl says, I leave my family, I'll jump into a well. She's ready to give up her life. What is this? So this Priya is part of that supreme sacrifice for love. That we can understand. That's why I sometimes feel that bhakti is better than Vedanta. Because it's to do with feelings. We all are creatures of feeling, not so much of abstractions and intellectual. We like to think that we are all intellectuals, but actually we live by our feelings. And that's why in ancient times, love and the spirit were together, combined into one, and given the symbol of Agni, the burning desire to find the truth. And when
Say that again. I missed that one.
which one?
Agni. What two parts?
Priya, this is love, and spiritual aspiration, and the spirit, both combined together. Actually they are one, and they are represented in the Vedas by Agni, the fire. Ignition in Latin. So what happens in a fire? You light a fire, you can light any number of fires from one flame without destroying that flame. Right. And if one spark falls on dry land, like in California, what happens? The entire forest is wiped out. One spark. It gives you a kind of symbolic representation of the absolute. One spark is enough to finish everything off. And when it burns, fire always burns upwards. Fire doesn't burn downwards. Always burn. You can put the thing in which there is fire down, but it will still go up, the flame. It's like a triangle, it goes up. So it always symbolized aspiration, taking the mind into higher zones, aspiration. So this Agni is a representation of love and spiritual earning. And in a small way, it's also an ordinary desire comes. What do we use the word? Fire of desire. He is consumed by desire, consumed fire. Right? Suppose you want to refer to someone whom you loved in college. How do you refer to that person? Old flame, not old water, right? So what is that flame? It's the flame of desire. It's the flame of. It's also the digestive fire, according to Ayurveda. There is a digestive fire. Pachamyannam chaturvidam. You will see it described in the Gita that there is a fire which digests the food inside. So this fire is love, which is all-consuming. It can turn everything to ashes and go straight up. Which is why the Shiva Purana says, Shiva is in the smashan in Manikarnika. He always touches the ashes and puts it on his, because finally that's the end. But we have gone up, risen above it. So the step is to first understand that there is a limitation in this world, and the way to get out of it is through all-consuming dedication, all-consuming attachment to something else which is other than the world. So first we have to realize that this is not enough, right? Techniques are different, of course. Why is it that only ladies are getting perfect? Okay. Otherwise we won't be allowed to sit here.
Can we do anything to enhance and increase our love for God? Because lots of time we want to love Him, but don't feel in our heart the satisfaction and the aspiration. So, as a mortal human being, what can we do from our side to love Him more? It comes and goes, and sometimes it dries up, So.
You put me in a spot, but let me tell you that basically we can't do much. Wait 1 minute. Other than surrender. However, having said that, this kind of love for the higher, you can call it God or you can call it whatever you want to call it, for the limitless, pure desire for that supreme, whatever, usually happens. You know why we don't get full attention there? Because we still have much attention here. So it usually happens when we are slightly free of this. And the more we are free of this, the easier it is to push. When I say free of this, I don't mean you have to take sannyas, please. That's not what I'm talking about. You can change your robes and still remain the same. It doesn't mean anything. It means that when you see, which is why, normally we all seek happiness. Okay, fine. That's because we know deep down that the ultimate truth is happiness. We know that. Inside it is built in, so we seek. However, in the process, what we do, even the little sorrow that comes, we try to sweep it under the rug through entertainment, getting rid of it. We don't look at it properly. If we can stay with it for some time, it's possible to transcend it. Instead of trying to sweep it off and bring excuses to explain it away, we don't know what the explanation is. In fact, in the Granth Sahib of the Sikhs, there's a beautiful saying, "Dukh mein sumiran sab kare, sukh mein kare na koi." Which means when you have pain and sorrow, then you do more japa and smiran. Think of God. When you're okay in this world, happy, you don't generally want God. Only theoretically we want, but really we don't want. If somebody says, I'm taking away everything from you, I'll give you God, you say, no, wait a minute. So till the mind matures enough to come to that position, it's not possible to full 100% do that. So we have to at least acknowledge and recognize this fact. Since we are on this point, I'm going to tell you a story. Don't imitate this person in the story. It's not possible for most people. And the character is, of course, Kunti. In the Mahabharata, the war takes place, the Kurukshetra war. War is over. And Krishna is going to Dwarka. Let's say it's a story, okay, doesn't matter. Krishna is going to Dwarka. And while going to Dwarka, he wants to say goodbye to everybody. So he goes to his people who are of his own age. He goes and hugs them and says goodbye. And to those who are elder, he actually touches their feet and takes their blessings. Krishna. Here we are not ready to bend our head even to the guy who opens the door. We're talking about Krishna as a Purna Avatara. The humility of it. Anyway, he bends down. So he goes to the matriarch of this whole family is Kunti Devi. Matriarch. So he goes to her and he touches her feet and says, I'm going to Dwarka. If you have any desire, any boon that you want, ask me. Now is the right time, and I'll give it to you. It's a beautiful dialogue. Kunti says, hey, man, don't try to fool me. Don't try to fool me. I know who you are. You think you can fool me? I've never been fooled. You started the war. And then you smiled. And then you joined our side. And we won the battle. And now you're saying, I'm going to Dwarka. You go nowhere. You go neither to Dwarka, you are everywhere. It's all nonsense. You don't fool me. Anyway, since you have asked me for a boon, I have one boon to ask you. That's why I said, don't imitate Kunti. It's not possible. Because the moment it happens, we'll run away. We'll try to escape. Kunti says, bring all the sorrows of this entire world on my head. That's the blessing I want. Even Krishna is taken aback. What kind of a boon is this? Why? Because every time a sorrow hits me, I'll call you for help. Okay? And that means I'll constantly remember you, sorrow after sorrow. And I am sure that if I call you, you are there in front of me. What more do I need? You. I don't want anything else. So why not? Give me all the sorrows in the world. That's why I said don't imitate. 2 extra sorrows and we are on the run. So it's a mature soul like Kunti. Everybody can. So till we reach that, we have to be satisfied with the little bit that we get. Snacks. So this is important to note. You may be Kunti, I don't know, I'm just saying. So, and what is Krishna's reply? Tathastu, so be it.
Say to that which the senses cannot.
Did you get it on my novel?
Yeah, at the back of Shunya, in which the mind cannot perceive, understand.
But that's a fiction, okay, that book. but the quotation is from the Upanishads.
So in that case, what question a disciple should ask a guru that would take him closer to that truth? This itself is my question to you.
Let me first explain what's written at the back of Shunya. Let me explain this. Now this particular expression, it's there mentioned in many Upanishads, but particularly this expression, I have modified it a little bit, occurs in the Kena Upanishad. Now the Kena Upanishad is a very important Upanishad. It comes from the Samaveda. Samaveda is very important from the fact that in the Gita, when Vyasa makes Krishna declare his glories, among the Vedas, Krishna says, I am the Samaveda. It doesn't say Rigveda, it's Samaveda. Why? Because Samaveda is the root or the essence of music. 89% of the Samaveda is Rigveda, but it is set in music. So, and now music plays a great part because music is that which needs no language. Have you ever thought about this? That you cannot think without a language. Think about it. Try to think. You're already formulating it in the language which you're most familiar with. Words. Any thought. And all our actions and the whole life is thought. But there is one thing which doesn't require a language, music. Right? Suppose somebody is playing the flute. Do you need a language? The gopis went mad in Vrindavan, but do we need a language? And if you're playing Beethoven, for instance, and you're listening, doesn't matter where you come from, what language, you're enjoying. It's the rhythm, the pattern, the music, right? So music is close. So I'm just saying this because I'm telling you that the Keno Upanishad comes from the Samaveda. It's important. And the word Keno actually means who. 2000 years ago, human beings already had an identity crisis. Who am I? Who are you? You know, when people fight each other, they ask this question, who do you think I am? Who do you think I am? In fact, in an old movie called The Party, in which Peter Sellers plays the role of an Indian musician, he has a very good answer. Somebody catches him by the collar and pulls him and says, who do you think you are? He said, in India we don't think who we are, we know who we are. So unfortunately now very few know, so what to do. Anyway, so the Keno Upanishad, I've taken this quotation, little bit modified and simplified from the Keno Upanishad. It starts with the question of who am I really, in the sense that when I say I, what does it mean, where does it come from, and so on. It's a little complicated. And then it says that truth which you seek. If you want to use the actual words, from the Keno Upanishad, it's yan manasana manyute yanahur manomatam tadeva brahmatvam vidvi nedam yad idam upasate. It's a very final statement, it's a dangerous statement. It says, sounds like Krishnamurti. It says that which and manasana manyute, which even the mind cannot understand. Yanahur manomatam, but because of which the mind has the capacity to think and reflect. Tadeva brahmatvam vidvi, understand, O student, that is the only reality. Nedam yad idam upasate, nothing that you worship here. This is Upanishad, it's not Krishnamurti. So, I have taken that because in other places it has talked about other senses. Chakshusha napashyati, I don't want to chant, it's Sanskrit. Or Shrotre nashrunoti, yanashrotram idam shrutam, tadeva brahmatam. Repeat, that only is the truth, nothing that you worship. It comes from I, from all the senses to the mind. And so I have kind of put everything together and said where the mind or the senses do not go, that is the reality. This is what I have said. So what does a student ask your question to a teacher who is talking about this? The question would be, if it can't be discovered even by the mind, then how do I touch it? Because I am only instrument I have is the mind. So how do I touch it? In this I had a very interesting discussion with His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Some time back I got a nice chance to meet him personally in Delhi. We spent quite some time. Actually I thought he must be busy, so I got up to leave and he said, I'm not busy, sit down. Nobody is coming. So actually pulled my hand. So I was talking about this Upanishad. The idea was, I was trying to tell him that the shunyata of the Buddhist teachings, like Nagarjuna's Prajna Paramita, and the Purna, the Brahman of the Vedantin, are not two different things. They are two different terms describing the same thing. I was trying to explain, and I went to the Upanishads and I told him that the Upanishads said that which even the mind cannot reach. So he said, but 1 minute, stop it, stop. He said, if the mind cannot reach it, what is it to me? It can be there. And I am here, so what does it matter to me? I don't even have to attempt because the mind also can't reach. So what the Upanishad means, what I explained to him at that time, he knows, he was just trying to, it is Buddhists, they're well trained in Tarka Shastra. That's why Shankara, who was a master of Tarka Shastra, always had arguments with them. So, I said what it means is that the ordinary mind, which is caught up by ordinary things, cannot touch it. It doesn't mean that the mind, the purified mind in its sattvic essence, perhaps senses that. So, since you asked me the question, I would say that when it says that even the mind cannot reach it, which means the ordinary mind, which is caught up in self-centeredness, which is caught up in gain, profit and loss accounts, which is concerned only with this physical world and not with anything else, such a mind cannot touch it. So therefore, the answer would be, try to develop a mind which is free. You can't get off the mind, because when you say, I don't want the mind to exist, you are fighting with the mind. There are two minds. One part of the mind trying to silence the other. It will never happen. It will still be split into two. So if you can just, that's what I mean sometimes by surrender, is that when you realize that this is only going on in circles. Ramana Maharshi once said something very interesting. People kept asking questions. I'm not trying to discourage you. I'm talking about him. He said, well, I'll answer you. Then you'll have another question. Then I'll answer you. Then you'll have another. And then I'll answer you. Because the cycle of question and answer is vicious. When you realize that the answer does not lie in this, that this is not taking me anywhere, and when the mind settles down and says, hey, done, shut up, then something might sprout. Since we are on the subject of important things, I'm sorry if I'm neglecting other questions, important thing. I must tell you this, there was a great scholar, very great scholar in Vedas and Tantra and everything. His name was Kavyakanta Ganapati Shastri, very great scholar. And also a sadhak, one who was looking for the truth, searching. He had read everything that you have on the spiritual subject. First of all, he came from a distinguished family. So by the time he was 10 or 11, he had mastered many scriptures. And he knew the Sri Vidya, he knew the Tantras, he knew everything. And yet, he found at the age of 35 or some middle age, that there was some barrier between him and the truth, which was not breaking. He tried many things. There was this barrier, and he was wondering, what is this barrier which I can't finish? I know everything that is required theoretically, and also through practice. So he wandered around looking for a guidance, and then he reached Tiruvannamalai. Those days, nobody knew Ramana Maharshi. He was just sitting in the Skanda Ashrama cave, taking food for whoever offered and sitting quietly. Nobody knew him. Only Kunyaswami, his assistant, was with him, who would also go around, wander and come back. And have you seen any picture of Ramana Maharshi with his eyes closed? Anybody? No, open. Because there was no need for him to go in or come out. For him, the outer and the inner were one, so there is no need to close, to go in. You can't find a single picture. His eyes were always open. So anyway, so he went and sat in front of the cave for 40 minutes without any attention, because Maharshi's eyes were open, but they were not focused on him. They were looking straight into space. After 40 minutes or so, suddenly they stirred and they looked at him. He was waiting for that moment. And then Maharshi doesn't talk much, He hardly talked. Here, look at me going on talking the whole morning. So he never talked. What do you think? You pay for a retreat and I come here and sit there? You see, what kind of a nut is this? So, anyway, Maharshi never talked, he never had retreats. So, he focused his eyes on this man and he was waiting and he did like this. What? Instead of asking, he was waiting for the cue for this. He started off. Took him well nigh 10 to 15 minutes to finish what he had to say. I've done this, I've done that, I've read this, I've read that, I've done Sri Vidya up to Panchadashakshari, Shodashakshari, the Tantras, Upanishads, everything. Then he said in the end, now what am I supposed to do? I've done all this, now what am I supposed to do? The story is very interesting. Maharshi smiled and said, in Tamil, "Konja nera summa irukka mudiyuma." Can you shut up for a minute? So, finally, when you realize that we need to shut the mind up, it won't happen if you artificially try to do that. You must allow it to do all kinds of efforts to find. When it will go in this direction, that direction, push, and then no way out. Quiet, keep quiet. Then you somewhat touched it. I'm sorry, I don't know if I answered your question. You're discussing what you asked me. Thank you. What's your name?
Varun.
How old are you?
31.
Are you married?
Yes.
God.
Speaking of spiritual practice, I have a question about spiritual practice. So if a person has been initiated into a mantra and is trying to read a mantra, can they also practice Kriya Yoga? Could you please say something about Kriya Yoga, because I don't know very much about it.
Somebody else asked me something about this in the morning. So, I'm sure there are a lot of people in the evening who want to sit down for the Kriya session. So it's necessary now to discuss a little bit about Kriya. Let me tell you this. First of all, that you have taken Kriya, suppose somebody has taken Kriya, that doesn't mean Kriya is not the only way to find the Supreme. I'm being very honest with you. Mirabai did not practice any Kriya. Right? This is what Babaji asked me. That's why I'm telling you. And because I was also incessantly pestering him for Kriya. And second, the other side, Jnana Marg, Ramana Maharshi did not practice any Kriya. So it's not as if Kriya is the only way to salvation. Please understand. People who want to sell Kriya might say that I have nothing to sell. Yeah. However, it's a tradition which has come to me and I have practiced it and I found it quite advantageous. That much I can tell you. But therefore, when you say I have taken Kriya, don't think you're superior to somebody who has not taken Kriya. First thing to note. Don't think, oh, today I have taken. So that's one thing. Second is that it's not a shortcut. You know, some people say it's a shortcut, jet plane. There's no jet plane. In sadhana, hard work is required for everything. How can there be a shortcut? It's unfair. You need to put in effort for that. Okay. The third important point to note is that when you say Kriya, the meaning of the word is a technique. Technique. Kriya. To do something. Kriya Karya means something to do. It's a technique. So there are many Kriyas in the Yoga Shastras. Many kinds of Kriyas. And when I say Kriya, it's that particular exercise that has come down from a particular tradition of Kriya. There may be other Kriyas, 100%. So when I say a Kriya, I'm talking about that which I learned from Maheshwarnath Babaji, my guru, who also belonged to the Nath Sampradaya, and his guru, Sri Guru Babaji. So when we say Kriya, it's that particular technique which has come down to us, which doesn't mean there are no other Kriyas. Please note this carefully. So this is what I mean by Kriya. Okay? So your question was, suppose you have already taken a mantra, then is it okay to practice Kriya? See, whether you believe in the supreme reality as abstract, or you believe in the supreme as a god, a deity, or whether you like to go to temples or you don't like to go to temples, or you're a Christian or a Hindu, in Kriya all these things don't matter. Your lifestyle matters, of course. You have to be moderate in your activities and so on. But it doesn't matter what kind of ideology you follow, as long as it doesn't cause injury to others. Right? I can follow my ideology, but I don't have to step on other people's toes. That much is clear. So, if you can follow any path you like, it doesn't matter. However, if you take Kriya, then you have to practice it regularly. If you don't practice it regularly, there is no point in taking Kriya. Waste of time and waste of energy. And by taking Kriya, you are not being converted into a new religion. And Kriya is not a cult. You can do Kriya without me. I may teach you, but you are not worshipping me. Oh, you are the Jagat Guru and so on nonsense that goes on. I am just giving you a technique which you need to practice.
How long does one have to do Kriya?
So, wait a minute. So, what does Kriya then do? What it does? See, we believe that in the yogic sciences, according to yoga, physiology and anatomy, the body has three important channels through which energy flows. There is the Pingala, there is the Ida, and there is the Sushumna. Okay? Now, for most purposes in life, if the prana flows through the Pingala and the Ida, it's enough. But if you want to raise your consciousness to higher levels, then the Sushumna, which is the central nadi, has to be opened. When this opens, then your awareness and consciousness ascends to higher levels. There is no limitation to that, it ascends. Now, to do that, the first step of Kriya is how to clean up the Sushumna. Because in most cases, it is full of muck, blocked. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to, oh Devi, come up, and you don't have to do anything. You just unblock the Sushumna and things will happen by themselves. So, and it has nothing to do with me, okay? I am just a via media. I might give Kriya, but you don't have to worship me because I gave you Kriya. This is very important, otherwise it will become a cult. It will become an M Kriya. I mean, this is not what I am trying to propound. I am going to teach you a technique, not to worship me. And if you practice properly, with all your attention, and follow the rules and regulations, which we will discuss at that point, not very tough, then you can progress. As long as grace is concerned, as we discussed it earlier, you need to open your mind to it. Time is up.
Just to make it sense, because it is related to Kriya Yoga. Can Kriya Yoga, if not done in proper way, can that be harmful to physical bodies anyway?
See, first of all, Kriya Yoga is not gymnastics. It's a very simple...
Kundalini Yoga, some people say
So that is when you do all kinds of strange things and stand on your head and breathe hard, and something might happen. But if you properly do Kriya Yoga gently as it should be done, there is no such problem. Yeah, there is no such problem. And sometimes I get such cases. Somebody came the other day and said, my Kundalini has now reached the Sahasrara Chakra. Now what should I do? I said, what should you do? It's reached there, it's fine, there's nothing to do. I mean, then he says, but I have a doubt. I said, then it's not reached. There is no doubt. Everything is clear. So, See, if you say I feel wonderful, but then I still don't know what, that means it's not, you have not touched that. It may be something else. Maybe a psychological problem. I feel there is a serpent going up my head, then you need to see a psychiatrist.
How much time does one have to dedicate daily to Kriya Yoga?
15 minutes if you can leave for one day once and do it, then it's enough. 1-5. So start with. And the other thing is, you don't have to say that, oh, today I didn't do, so tomorrow I'll do twice. No. Try to do every day as much as you can. One day if you miss, next day you do it. That's it. Don't get too caught up with that. But 15 minutes a day, if you cannot do it, then it's not worth taking it. Don't give any excuse, I have to take my dog out for a walk. You definitely take your dog out, but... Okay. So then we'll meet in the evening, and if you have a few more doubts on this matter, so before we start the actual session, we can discuss for half an hour. Yeah. Somebody else had something to ask. Thank you very much.